Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to share something really special with you. The story of my very first day playing Grow a Garden on Roblox. This isn't just a quick playthrough or a highlight reel. This is the full, slow, detailed experience with all the ups and downs, surprises and lessons that made day one unforgettable. So, get comfy. Maybe grab some tea or your favorite snack. Settle in, and I'll take you step by step through my journey. I still remember that moment perfectly, the moment I hit play. My heart was racing with a mix of excitement and nerves. The screen flickered for a moment, then loaded me into this quiet, peaceful world. I was standing on a tiny patch of dirt, just a humble square surrounded by soft green hills and trees swaying gently in a warm breeze. Everything felt calm and inviting. But the emptiness of that patch of land made me realize this was my blank canvas, my garden, waiting to come alive. I took a deep breath and looked down at my inventory. There were just a few simple seeds, nothing rare, nothing flashy, but to me, they were full of promise. The kind of seeds you start with when you're just beginning a new adventure. Carefully, I knelt down and planted my first seed. I pressed it into the soil as gently as I could. The game made a satisfying little sound, and I watched as the seed nestled into the earth. Then, I picked up the watering can. The water poured slowly over the soil, droplets sparkling in the sunlight like tiny diamonds. I paused, just soaking in the feeling of care, hope, and possibility. I waited. And then, slowly, a tiny green sprout emerged, breaking through the dirt like a little miracle. That sprout was the start of everything. I felt a wave of pride wash over me. From a tiny seed, life was growing. It was slow, steady, and patient, and it made me smile. But Grow a Garden wasn't just about planting and waiting. Almost immediately, I noticed little challenges popping up. A swarm of tiny bugs began buzzing around, some landing on my young plants and nibbling leaves. I panicked a bit. How was I supposed to protect my garden? Then, suddenly, a mole popped up out of the ground and started digging holes in my neat rows of crops. I was scrambling, unsure what to do. I'd never had to defend a garden before. It quickly became clear this was a living, breathing world. It wasn't just a peaceful simulation. It had surprises, threats, and demands for attention. As I watered and tended to my crops, I started unlocking better tools. A sturdier watering can that could sprinkle water more evenly. A hoe that made preparing the soil easier. Fertilizer that promised faster growth, but only if I used it carefully. There was a rhythm to it all, and I had to learn it fast. Too much water, and the plants would suffer. Not enough, and they'd wilt. Too much fertilizer, and things could go wrong. But just the right amount, and my crops thrived. I experimented, making mistakes, learning, adjusting. Pause to simulate a few seconds of planting sounds, water pouring, gentle breeze. Hours passed like this. Me, my little patch of earth, learning what it meant to be a gardener. But then, I noticed something new. I wasn't alone. Other players were nearby, tending their own gardens. Some had already made huge progress, their plots bursting with flowers, tall crops, colorful decorations. Others, like me, were just starting. One player caught my eye. She was decorating her garden with glowing lanterns, turning it into a fairy tale wonderland. Another was chasing butterflies with a net, laughter ringing through the air. Curiosity pulled me toward the community hub, a buzzing area full of players chatting, trading seeds, and sharing tips. I wandered through, reading messages pinned to the notice boards, players asking for rare seeds, others offering gifts. Invites to join garden clubs. It was clear to grow faster and grow a garden. You needed friends. You needed community. Without hesitation, I sent my first messages. Hi, new here. Can we be friends? My heart raced as I waited for replies. Some ignored me. A few waved in greeting. Then, finally, a player named Sunny Sprout sent me a friend request. She welcomed me warmly, shared tips, gave me a shiny watering can, a gift that felt like a treasure. And then, she invited me to join her garden club, the Bloomers. Joining the Bloomers changed everything. Suddenly, I wasn't gardening alone. We watered each other's plants, traded rare seeds, protected gardens from pests, celebrated every little success. The game came alive. I was part of something bigger. My first day wasn't perfect. I forgot to water some plants and watch them wilt. accidentally sold a rare seed and cringed at my mistake. Juggling all the tasks felt overwhelming at times, but every setback was followed by a victory. The first pumpkin I harvested filled me with pride. Unlocking my first glowing flower felt like finding hidden treasure. Each success made me want to play even more. As the day went on, I explored more of the map. I found hidden wonders, that a quiet grove filled with shimmering butterflies, a bubbling spring with magical water, a secret trading post where players exchanged seeds and stories. Grow a Garden was more than farming. It was an adventure. By nightfall, my garden glowed softly. Fireflies floated above my crops. Lanterns lit winding paths. I sat back, proud of what I had built. From a barren patch of dirt to a buzzing paradise, I wasn't just a player, I was a gardener. A friend, part of a community. Logging off, I was already dreaming about day 2. More planting, more growing, more friends, more secrets. Grow a Garden had captured me completely. So, how much did I get on my first day? I can't give you numbers, but I got something better: friendship, magic, passion. All right, so after joining the bloomers and feeling that wonderful spark of community, I dove deeper into the world of Grow a Garden. Being part of a garden club was like finding a second family. Everyone had their own little patch of earth to tend, but together we shared resources, advice, and most importantly, friendship. I remember my first real chat with Sunny Sprout. She told me about the secret seed spots, hidden corners of the map where rare and magical seeds dropped randomly. Her voice was patient and encouraging, guiding me step by step. She explained how these seeds could grow into unique plants you couldn't buy or find easily, and how having those rare plants could unlock special tools and decorations. I was hooked. We made plans to meet at one of those secret spots, a shady grove surrounded by towering trees where soft rays of sunlight filtered through the leaves. The air was thick with the scent of fresh earth and blooming flowers. When I arrived, a few other players were already there, their avatars chatting excitedly and collecting glowing seeds. Sunny Sprout was quick to teach me the ropes, which seeds were worth picking, how to avoid the pesky critters that guarded some of them, and even a few tricks to get the rarest seeds to drop more often. I was amazed at how much the game rewarded exploration. This wasn't just about planting and watering. It was about adventure, discovery, and cooperation. Pause for garden ambience and soft footsteps. Back at my garden, the seeds I'd collected started to make a difference. I planted them carefully, watching their slow growth with eager anticipation. Some sprouted into shimmering flowers that glowed softly under moonlight. Others grew into towering crops with vibrant colors I hadn't seen before. The buzz of activity in my garden was incredible. Bees flitted around the flowers, butterflies danced in the breeze, and tiny critters scurried beneath the leaves. It was a living, breathing ecosystem, and I was its caretaker. Then came the marketplace, a bustling place where players traded seeds, tools, and decorations. I was nervous the first time I stepped in. The marketplace was crowded, lively, filled with chatter and deals happening everywhere. I wasn't sure what to offer, what to ask for, or even how to start trading. But my clubmates were there to help. Sunny Sprout encouraged me to offer some of my common seeds in exchange for rarer ones, teaching me the art of negotiation. I still remember my first trade. I nervously offered a handful of sunflower seeds, hoping someone would be interested. A player named Garden King approached and quickly made a deal, swapping me a rare glowing seed I'd only heard about in whispers. That moment was electric. Pause. Simulate soft market chatter sounds. Trading became a daily routine. I started keeping notes on what seeds were valuable, which tools helped grow specific plants, and how to time my farming to maximize growth. But it wasn't just about trading. It was about relationships. I began chatting regularly with other players, swapping stories about our gardens, sharing tips, and sometimes joking about the little mishaps that happened, like the time I accidentally planted my seeds in the wrong order and my whole garden looked like a wild mess. Or the moment I forgot to water overnight, waking up to wilted crops and a sinking feeling. These moments, while frustrating, made the game feel real. It wasn't perfect. It was lived in. As the hours rolled on, I found myself planning more carefully. I mapped out where I would plant certain seeds, learned which plants thrive together, and experimented with decorations that boosted growth. One of my favorite discoveries was the way decorations could influence the environment. Lanterns that attracted helpful bugs, fences that kept pests away, and even little garden gnomes that somehow seemed to bring good luck that I poured over the tool upgrades menu, deciding which one to save up for next. Each tool had unique perks that changed how I could care for my plants, and choosing wisely was key. Pause for a few seconds of nature sounds. Of course, no garden is without its trials. Pests returned, stronger and craftier. I had to build traps and barriers, learning from friends and trial and error. Weather shifted suddenly. Rainstorms that flooded sections of my garden, or dry spells that made watering all the more urgent. But the challenges made every success sweeter, and I still remember the thrill of harvesting my first big pumpkin patch. The way the soil looked, the crunch of the ripe pumpkins as I picked them, and the satisfying glow of achievement point. One of the most memorable parts of day one was when my club organized a community garden event, a chance for everyone to come together and help each other out. Players swapped seeds, showed off their best garden sections, and shared stories of their progress that I felt a warm sense of belonging. Here I was, a beginner, surrounded by people who wanted to help me grow. To be why the time the event ended and night settled over the garden world, I was glowing with happiness. My inventory was fuller, my garden was thriving, that my friends were growing, and my heart was full. Gentle music fades in. This was only the beginning. There was so much more to explore, so many seeds to find, so many friendships to nurture, and I couldn't wait to see what day two would bring. If you're enjoying this story, drop a comment below and share your own Grow a Garden adventures. Remember to subscribe, because I'll be sharing every moment with you. Thanks for being here. Happy gardening. So, as day one stretched on, I realized that growing a garden wasn't just about planting seeds and waiting. There was a whole art to it, a rhythm, a strategy, a kind of dance between nature and player that I started experimenting with decorating my garden, not just for looks, but to improve how my plants grew. For example, placing lanterns along the paths wasn't just magical to look at. They actually attracted helpful bugs that protected my plants from pests. Fences weren't just borders. They kept out the sneaky critters that could ruin a day's work. That I found myself carefully planning where to put each decoration and crop. Some plants thrived best when planted near others, like best friends helping each other grow. Others needed their own space, away from competition. Managing multiple garden plots became my next big challenge. I couldn't just focus on one patch anymore. I had to juggle watering schedules, pest control, and harvesting times across several different areas. It was a balancing act, and sometimes I dropped the ball, forgetting to water a plot or missing a critical moment to harvest. But each mistake taught me something new. I learned to set reminders, to check the game more frequently, and to lean on my friends and the bloomers for advice and help. Pause. Soft water pouring sounds. One afternoon, I stumbled upon a surprise event, a sudden rainstorm that drenched the entire garden. At first, I panicked, worried my plants might drown or get sick. But then I noticed something beautiful. The rain sped up growth for some plants, giving them a fresh boost. The storm was brief but refreshing. Watching raindrops patter on leaves, feeling the fresh scent of wet earth, I was reminded how dynamic and alive this world was. That's when I truly appreciated the attention to detail the developers had put in. It wasn't a static game. It breathed, changed, and challenged you. I also started discovering how important community really was. When I was overwhelmed with garden tasks, friends stepped in to help, watering my plants, trading me seeds I needed, and even defending my crops. From pests. One night, a player named Leaf Lover sent me a message. Need help? I have some rare seeds you might like. I was surprised and grateful. We arranged a trade the next day, and those rare seeds turned my garden into a vibrant oasis of colors and shapes I'd never seen before. Pause. Gentle chatter background simulating player chat. Balancing all these tasks while chatting with friends felt like a real social experience. That we laughed about our funny mistakes, celebrated big harvests, made plans for future garden expansions. That it was no longer just a game. It was a shared adventure. Towards the end of day one, I decided to take a slow, peaceful walk around my garden. That I imagined each plant's story, from a tiny seed to a thriving flower or crop. That I admired the glowing lanterns, the fluttering butterflies, and the little critters that had become part of my garden's family. I even spotted a few rare creatures I hadn't noticed before, like shimmering fireflies that only appeared after dark. That quiet moment made me reflect on how much I'd grown in just one day. Not just my garden, but myself as a player and as part of this community that I felt proud, excited, and grateful. Soft instrumental music swells. So, here I am, wrapping up day one of Grow a Garden. That I can't tell you exact numbers of seeds or coins because the game is always different for each player. But what I can share is this: I gained friendships, adventures,